Today I will be presenting Frederick Douglass and the North Star. Who is Frederick Douglass? Frederick Douglass, he's an abolitionist. He was born in Maryland in 1818. His mom was a slave and his dad was his master. He learned how to read at a young age from his master's wife, but eventually he had to give it up because it was illegal to teach slaves how to read. Um, he also wrote a couple autobiographies and some speeches. One of his speeches that's very famous is it's gonna be shown and later in the video. He also wrote a newspaper that attacked slavery and yeah, that's who he was. He was one of the leaders of the abolitionist movement. Abolitionist movement. Um, what did he accomplish? Douglass learned how to read and write at a young age, like I said before. He also helped slaves escape through the Underground Railroad. He also emancipated himself at the age of 20, which means that he became a free slave. Like he was no longer a slave, he was free. He also published an autobiography in 1845, and he wrote 3 in total. He also wrote speeches. Um, One of his well-known speeches is The Hypocrisy of an American Slave, which was written in 1852. He also began a newspaper named the North Star in 1847. And this is one of his pictures. This is also an example of the North Star newspaper. And this is the 4th of July speech.
Became a brilliant and powerful leader of the anti-slavery movement. In 1852, he was asked to speak in celebration of the 4th of July.
Fellow citizens, pardon me, and allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I, therefore, called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess their benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us? I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn.
Okay, so as you can see, Douglass, he's really emphasizing how the 4th of July is a holiday, but not for black people, because you know slaves didn't gain their freedom when America gained their independence. They remained slaves. So to them, it's more of a you know, it's it's just they don't consider it a holiday or something to celebrate about, because on that day their families, their the children, they were not free. They were still in slavery and captivity. They were still serving white people. So to them it wasn't a holiday, it was more of a mourning, more of a something that, you know, something that's not to be proud about. Moving on to the next slide, we have a, a brief description of how the North Star, like when it began. Uh, it began in December 3rd, 1847. How did it develop? Well, Frederick Douglass collected funds from speaking tours in Ireland and Great Britain. He named the North Star that name because it symbolized the North Star that the slaves used during the night when they were escaping, so they used it as like sort of a guide towards freedom. This newspaper also was very influential in the African American community. It targeted, you know, everything that was going on in that era, the pre-Civil War era. You know, it listed the current events. What impact did it have on media? Well, first of all, it was sold to over 4,000 readers for $2 each in the U.S., in the West Indies, and in Europe. So he had a lot of different audiences around the world. So you know he was spreading this information. Trying to make this make slavery end. His newspaper was 4 pages long. The first page focused on current events with the abolitionists. Um, uh, he was one of the key leaders in the abolitionist movement, along with William Lloyd Garrison. They did work together. The second and third page covered just different articles and book reviews, editorials, poetry from readers just from around the world. He would, you know, share their work. And the fourth page consisted of advertisements. So, what was his purpose of making this newspaper? Okay, well, Douglass, he wanted to spread this information, let people know this is not right. This this should not be happening, this is not right in God's eyes. And basically he was saying that, white people were being hypocrites because they claimed to be Christians, but they did not follow the word of God. They did not spread love. They did not, they didn't show love. They didn't accept people for who they are. Instead, they killed them, raped them, enslaved them. of many really disturbing things. And he just believes that they were being hypocrites because they were doing everything that God said not to do, and they claimed to be Christians. So that was one of his main beliefs. And that's it for my presentation. I hope you liked it. These are my sources. I only use 2 sources. This was an article, I believe, and this is where I got the picture.